Now let's bring in Hatem Bazian, a professor of Middle East cultures and languages at the University of Berkeley in California, joining us live. Very good to have you on the program, Professor. You heard there the view from Dhaka, from Islamabad, from Ankara, people basically around the world refusing to be silenced, coming out, voicing their anger. What's so special about this moment right now compared to what's been happening over these last couple of decades?
I think what we need to at least come into understanding that we have reached a tipping point in the global consciousness relative to Palestine. The understanding that the Palestinians demand for freedom, for liberty, for ending this constant violence that is used by the Israelis as a way to delay, to frustrate, to prevent Palestinians from actualizing their long-held aspirations. And what is very significant of this moment is that it actually transformed the world. We are actually in a world that is different than 2 years ago. It has exposed the double standard of international law. While people had a deep sense that international law has not been fairly and equally been implemented, what the genocide in Gaza has demonstrated is that this double standard is as clear as it can be. Also, what the genocide have made it very clear to all that the Western world ethics, moral compass, their rhetoric of having a position on human rights, on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or post-World War Universal Declaration and the Fourth Geneva Convention, it came to be very clear that the Western emperor has no clause, and Gaza has very much exposed this in a way that is irreversible. For quite some time, I think much of the global South was looking at the West, the United States, Europe, with an idea of an aspiration or a project of imitation, thinking that they will be accepted on an equal footing. I think Gaza have brought to an end this actual future horizon. And if there is any aspiration for the global South, Palestine and other places, it is not to be found in London, Washington, Paris, or any of those capitals that have been selling rhetorical positions, but actually Gaza demonstrated that these rhetorical position statements no longer are no longer welcomed, or actually can't really carry the day. And I think that's where we are in observing this moment that is a global in nature, but it definitely is reshifting and reorganizing the world like never before. Now, whether that will be sustainable to bring something different, I think that's where the major challenge in the days, months and years ahead.
Well, of course, and you've also heard there the voices from around the world calling for action, urging their governments to do more. And I just want to reference this UN commission that found that Israel has been committing genocide in Gaza. And that also comes with an obligation for international governments and countries to do everything they can to stop it. So why is the world incapable of stopping it from what it appears?
Well, I do think what we need to come and to reconcile ourselves that Israel is a Western project implant in our region. Israel was founded on the aftermath of the destruction of the Ottoman state and the signing or the coming into fruition the Sykes-Picot Agreement. So Israel is literally the spoiled child, the progeny of the Western project. And in it, the West continues to actually implement its policy, focused on the resources in the region, but also the trade networks, and the hegemony that is actually expressed in the region. The Fourth Geneva Convention is an obligation upon signatories to act to prevent acts of genocide. But as we say, or as we see, not only that the Western world has failed to actually act to stop the genocide, but actually I say they are co-producing of the genocide, not complicit, because complicity is one level. I think they are co-producers of the genocide by actually providing the military hardware and resources, providing the surveillance and the flight that has been flown over Gaza, providing the diplomatic cover, which the United States cast 6 vetoes, but also the European Union has continued to drag its feet to implement any type of measures that would translate into actually stopping Israel in the genocide.
So, Professor, let me just jump in here real quick. The fact that over these last 2 years, Israel has killed one child, even more than one child, every single hour for these 2 years. Does that not make it reasonable for governments to say, you know what, enough is enough?
I think that the populations in the West, the people in the streets, have been saying enough is enough. But I do want to remind everyone that Western atrocities in the global South is still to be taken into account. Just a few years back, we've been dealing with Iraq and over 1.5 million Iraqis. We've been dealing with Afghanistan. We're dealing with many places. And I do think that the world has reached to the understanding, the hypocrisy, the double standard, and the lack of adherence to a fair and equitable understanding of how international law need and ought to be implemented. And I do think that what we need is the government that recognize Palestine as a state. Recognition is a step, but we want actually substantive action that will bring an end to the co-production of the genocide. Immediate stopping of selling arms to Israel, an arms embargo should be in place. Just 2 days ago, FIFA actually kicked the ball down and saying that they are not going to take a position on Israel while it's in the middle of the genocide. Just compare the treatment of Russia in relations to the Ukraine. So
Professor, I'm going to have to unfortunately leave it there, but thank you so much, Professor, for joining us here on TRT World on this very special day. Now we